Ding dong. Hello. Welcome to YouTube land.
Hey YouTube.
What
Hey.
up?
Hey guys.
Hello.
Yeah, Josh, this is the part where we say hi to YouTube because the
Oh, hi
streamers
YouTube.
streamers aren't going to hear this, but YouTube,
Yeah.
like, they're going to hear everything.
Oh yeah, that's right.
YouTube gets extra
I
content.
forget you put it on YouTube.
Yeah, extra content. So everybody tell your deepest, darkest secret right now for the YouTube viewers.
I have a secret addiction to YouTube.
Ooh,
Do you really?
That's pretty good.
Yep.
I invented
I don't
YouTube.
watch TV. I just watch YouTube now.
That's. I mean, what do you?
I mean, why would you need TV when you have YouTube?
I watch old men like spooning out melon, like how to eat melon and stuff. Have you guys seen that?
Melonparty.com?
It's fucking
No,
crazy.
that's a little weird.
Is
It's
that,
amazing. This old man like shows you how to eat a watermelon, and that's the whole video, and it's brilliant.
well,
It's probably the best thing on YouTube. I'll put in the link later.
all right, we'll put it in the link.
Oh Lord.
All right, when we go
It's
live,
amazing.
just let me know. Make sure we're live because you never know with me if it's
All
actually
right.
set up. All right, we're gonna start streaming in 3, 2. Everybody quiet. Secret stream. And we're live. Let's just let the intro music play out for a minute.
All right.
Come on, Hamilton, you know this one.
I don't know this one because I can't hear it. Stroking.
Hello. Welcome
Hello.
to Between the
Hello.
Strokes. I'm Connor Dreest, and
Hamilton
today,
Ward.
Hamilton's here as always, but also
Yeah.
another person. What?
We have our first guest.
Oh! Introduce yourself,
Hi.
guest.
My name is Josh Greene.
Welcome to Between the Strokes.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Always.
So for today, we're going to be talking to Josh about some of the work that he does, and hopefully we can be showing you some of the work that he does while we talk about it. Otherwise, it's not going to make much sense.
Hey, we got some
but-
images up on the screen if you're seeing those, and that's Josh's work. Kind of compiled. We have some different images. Hamilton, you guide this because I don't really know where we're starting, but
Okay.
you tell me.
Well, I want to actually talk to Josh first.
Oh, okay, I'll just be quiet then. I got my
what,
beer. I got my beer right here. So I'll just drink that.
So you're good. Josh, I kind of want to know. Why don't you tell our listeners exactly what you do?
Oh, that's a good idea.
And kind of lay it out for them.
Okay. Well, you guys already graduated from UNCC. I'm still there. I graduate next semester.
Yeah.
I'm there for illustration, but as a hobby, that is quickly becoming like the main focus of my artwork. I make dioramas for my action figures.
Okay.
So it's all 1/12 scale, which is basically 1 inch equals 1 foot.
I'm glad
And
you
I
explained
try to
that because I didn't understand that at all.
What scale is it? Again? What scale?
What does that mean?
It's a 1/12 scale.
Oh, okay.
So it's roughly dollhouse scale.
Is
a
there
little
is there a
more-
thing as dollhouse scale, like for real?
There is. I did not know that until I started looking into.
Until you started measuring your dollhouses that you had. Right?
Well, like I had to look into like tutorials for how to build certain things because I wanted to know like what's the best way to build this,
Right.
cabinet or something like that. And I found out, oh, okay, so a 1/12 scale in the action figure world is dollhouse scale in the dollhouse world.
Jesus, that's crazy. So, I mean, is that how you kind of got into this? You just started looking at tutorials?
Well, like, it all started because I am absolutely 100% in love with the Ninja Turtles. The Ninja Turtles is actually why I even became an artist. That's a
Seriously?
whole story. It's a whole story in and of itself.
I want to hear that story.
And I have all these Ninja Turtle action figures, and I wanted something different than just having them sitting on my shelf.
Right.
And I thought, I started looking at like display cases or something, and I stumbled upon different dioramas people had made, and I thought that might be fun to try and make one. And it just spiraled from there.
Wow.
So, quick question: when did you make your first? Because you said Ninja Turtles got you into this. That must have been years ago when you made
Um,
your first attempt at
I
making a diorama.
the first diorama I made, um, I actually made it before I started at UNCC and actually used photos of it to get into the art program.
That's what's up.
So it was, God, what, 5, 6 years ago,
Oh wow.
something like that.
That's
And uh, I've just been continually looking at tutorials and not just tutorials for like how to mimic different surfaces and textures and stuff, but how to build the real world versions of things so that I can learn like how things are really built and try to apply that to what I'm building. So
well.
it's sort of complicated, but it is a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, it's
Well,
something I can see a lot, at least in the images you sent us. There's a lot of stuff that's very heavily referenced on like texture and just a lot of your stuff is like city streets or like brick walls, very like urban environments. So, is there like does the medium just kind of lend itself more to that sort of stuff, or is that just something you're more interested in making?
Well, I am absolutely, I'm kind of like Ham. Like I am in love with anything that is aged and weathered and broken down and gritty and grimy, and that lends itself really well to making urban spaces.
Right.
Um, but a lot of the figures that I have that I use in photography are superheroes, and 9 times out of 10, you're going to see a superhero in more of an urban environment than anything
Mhm.
else.
Right.
So I tend to make a lot of those.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think what's so striking about your work are the textures that you're able to do. Like it looks like hyper realistic almost. Like how are you able to sort of create that effect? Like I'm just looking at some of this brickwork, and some of like these columns here. Like it's crazy. How are you able to do that?
Well, it's all at the. I'm looking at the stream as well. The picture where it's just like pink foam. That's what it
Hmm.
is. It's insulation foam.
Right.
You can get it in giant, like 8 foot or more sheets, or you can get I think it's like 2 foot square. Um, and I buy those from Lowe's. Yeah, Lowe's. And the foam really takes texture really, really, really well. Um, I think the first diorama I made, I used like foam board, the cheap stuff you get for like
Hmm.
school projects. And I noticed that all of these guys that were making stuff that I wanted to know how to make were using that kind of foam. So I buckled down one day. I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn how to use this stuff. And you can carve it, you can uh, embellish it, you can do almost any kind of texture you want to put onto it, it'll take.
Okay.
Um, like with the brickwork, the one with the columns and stuff, that's the well, it's not the most recent one. I just finished one last night. But it's the latest like urban diorama I did, and I actually used a whole new method for how to make that, which is why I think the brickwork in that one looks better than all the other brickwork I've done.
It looks stunning. It really does. Just every little thing. It just looks so natural. Now, what are you using for reference exactly? Are you referencing spaces? Are you referencing objects in different spaces and creating your own space out of that?
It kind of the second one. I have an unnecessary amount of reference images on my computer. Like some of it's pictures I've taken, some of it are pictures I've just found online. Um, if I'm out and about and I see something, it doesn't even have to be like the whole space, but if I see something that I'm like, you know, this would look cool, I can kind of see how I could recreate it. I'll snap a picture of it.
Right.
So a lot of it is, I will have a bunch of reference photos up on my computer or something, and just start sketching things out and pull a little bit from here, a little bit from there, and just kind of, you know, see what happens with it.
So you'll draw the space before you actually recreate it in 3 dimensions?
Yeah, I typically do, you know, the same thing that got beat into my head from one of our illustration professors that, sketch, 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 sketch.
Oh,
So
Jamie told you to do
I
that?
yeah, Jamie, Gary, and
Yeah.
pretty much everybody. But I don't go like the whole 9 yards. Like it's not a finished artwork, when I'm done sketching it. But I get the basic layout. I jot down notes for like dimensions that I want to use or ideas for props or doorways and windows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, it's just sort of fascinating to me how, you started off as like an illustrator, but in a way now you're almost like an architect. Um,
I'm
and
like
I
a
think
little miniature architect, yeah.
and I think your blend of bringing that illustration that you've learned into these are what kind of makes them so compelling for me. Um, I mean, they're striking for people that are watching. I mean, I think we have a link to your Instagram, and it's just, I mean, I love looking at them. I really do.
Yeah, so
Well, thank
when
you.
I was setting up like these few images we have on the screen, like I was thinking, okay, it's one thing to have, your foam mat on the far right bottom, and then you texture them, you paint them, and that's the whole process. But then then you take it to like the 10th level with all these small props and tiny little things, and then you light them and like set the pose of the characters, and you have to think about composition, how the light is going to hit each one of these characters and
Oh
emphasize
yeah.
the scene and stuff and the action. So in a way, you're almost like illustrating in 3D because
Oh
it's the
yeah, I
same
didn't even think of it. That's a
fundamentals
great
that you're
point.
using.
That's a great point. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
actually kind of I've thought about it. Because when I started doing toy photography, which is a whole art community on its own, actually. Um, I was just in one of their big tournaments or competition, whatever you want to call it, last year.
Hmm.
You start thinking about it, and you really have to think about every little thing. Lighting, angles, props, like everything, like you said.
Yeah. So
And like the entire reason I put columns in that most recent one was because I liked the way it cast shadows on the back wall
That's
yeah.
and on the
awesome.
floor.
So when you're planning these out, and like even before you get to the stage where you're cutting your foam to get the base shapes of the environment, are you doing sketches and or like lighting tests to kind of plan out how you want your lights to hit? Because like my favorite piece out of all these that you've done is the top left, the Walking Dead thing with
Oh, with
the
Maggie
chain
and
door open and she's standing
yeah, yeah.
in the background, and then the foregrounds. I got that yellow light, but then I got the blue like hard cast shadow. So is that all stuff you
That was
plan in the initial stages, or is that like you kind of play with
well,
your
that
light
one was
as you go?
interesting because that's actually a diorama that I made for my sculpture class as my final project.
Yeah, I was in your class.
Um, yeah, oh yeah, duh.
See,
No,
no
So
one
like
remembers
that
you,
was
Connor. No one remembers you.
No, I was.
I tend to block that class out, let's
Yeah.
just be honest. Um, like honestly, when I was building that one, I wasn't thinking about lighting.
Mm.
But when I sat down to start taking some photos with it, it occurred to me, I'm like, okay, I specifically didn't put a roof on the back room, so I can put a hard light directly into that room, which means I can soft light everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of, went from there. It's like, okay, let's try a couple different dollar store color gels over my lights.
Is that what you use? Are those just like
I,
filters you put
I
over a light
I
bulb?
literally I have a stack of those uh transparent colored file folders
Oh
that come
yeah,
in like packs of 10.
Wow.
that's a good idea. I never
If
thought about
That's
that.
a
you
great idea.
you throw one of those in front of your light, and if you double it up, you get more of the color. If you leave it unfolded, then it's less of the color showing. So you
Yeah.
gotta do what you can with what you got.
Well, what are you using for light? That's a great question. Like, what are you using for your light?
Originally I had just like different LEDs, like I the in that photo in particular, the hard light in the room is like a tap light I got at the dollar store.
Okay.
Um, I used to use just like lamps and stuff like that, but my sister gave me a photography, um, like a light cube, for like product photography,
Okay.
and it had these wonderful, wonderful, wonderful LED lights that are really, really bright, and put a couple coffee filters over them, and they're nicely diffused.
Coffee filters, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a great tip. Just like household items like that, like your dollar store filters and your coffee filters, like that's really smart.
Like I picked up that trick from a couple of guys in the toy photography groups that I'm part of, because I actually messaged one of them. It's like, hey, how are you getting such clean lighting that's not harsh?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, dude, just buy some coffee filters. He said, if you get the white coffee filters, put two of them over your lamp, whatever you're using. He said it diffuses it.
Yeah.
But
So
it's one of those like,
can you kind of describe like more of a little bit more of a technical? So for the like the three images you have on top, like you can obviously like tell, especially with the two on the each side, that you have like a hard cast light for the blue light, and you have a yellow light somewhere. But is there like a third and fourth and fifth light to like diffuse, and especially in the middle picture, like the Fallout guy, like he's got kind of just like a sunlight, not very like hard cast shadow. So is that one light, or is that multiple lights diffused in different areas?
um, the Fallout one was, let's see, there was one light on the outside to come through the window with a yellow filter. There was another light behind where I had my camera set up, which is my phone.
Okay.
um,
Nice.
I had that set up and pointed down and diffused so that it would illuminate the room softly.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had another light over the top of it, shining down on him,
Nice.
diffused as well, just to get full coverage.
Right.
Because that was really hard, because I wanted to make it look like most of the light was coming from the window, but it was just bright enough outside that it lit the room up.
Yeah.
Because it's Fallout, there's not a whole lot of electricity.
No, but I think that came through in that image really well. So wait,
Well,
you use your phone for these?
Yeah, I.
Hamilton's like, how dare you? Gotta be using your DSLR, $50,000 camera, bro.
I just died a little bit inside. My God.
I'm sorry, Ham. I'm sorry. I know. I almost didn't want to. I almost wanted to just stick with camera. No,
They
I
look
use my
good for a phone. What kind of phone?
Yeah.
I have taught myself how to use every bit of the manual settings that I can on my phone to get the
Okay.
best out of it that I can.
Hey, you're working with what you got, and you're pulling it off.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I was going to say is that the phone can't do really well is that you're not messing around with depth of field. So with like just a cheap DSLR, you can create, I think, some range.
I mean, on that same point, are you doing any depth of field editing? Because I mean, obviously you're photoshopping these afterwards, maybe hue, saturation, contrast, but also just like comic book effects, like on the Spider-Man one, you got all like the city in the background. Obviously, isn't a model. It's like
he made that city. He made it.
I mean, it could be, but it looks photoshopped, but it looks good, So
the city in the background is actually a photograph that I took when I was in New York, and I printed it out on like 11 by 17 and just
you put it behind the thing.
Oh, that's amazing!
That's awesome, because I thought you just kind of like lasso tooled the Hulk out. And then just put it behind a Photoshop.
No, that photo in particular is one that I had in the competition, and per the rules of the competition, everything in the photo had to be tangible. You could not do anything with Photoshop. So
what about the boom and meanwhile?
That is cutouts.
Oh my God.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Those are cutouts, and they're just like wire glued to the thing?
They're cutouts, and they're actually held on with wax.
My God.
Wow, man.
Yeah, I totally thought that was photoshopped on. Okay, that's cool.
Nope,
that's remarkable. That is
all tangible.
Wow. Cool, man. Yeah,
so
now I can see that little shadow behind the meanwhile.
Yeah, if you look for it, you can see the little tells, because I didn't quite get that one lit perfectly to get rid of the shadows from the words. But yeah, everything in that photo is really there.
That's cool.
That's amazing. And so basically, you were self-taught for this aspect of it. All these little tricks that you just went out on your own and
Yeah.
basically YouTubed it and met people and just put yourself in the
YouTubed it,
community.
YouTubed it, talked to people in the community, trial and error. Yeah, it was there was nothing like I haven't taken any of the photography classes at school or anything like that. It was it was literally all just let me learn as much as I can and apply it.
Well, I think Connor, we've sort of touched on that before about how, you know, you don't really need to go to school for some of this stuff. If you have the drive and the passion, you can just fucking teach yourself and use the internet like a giant library, basically.
Yeah.
Pretty
Uh,
much.
and I think you're a great example of that because I mean these are wonderful.
Well, thank
Like
you.
how long does like one usually take you? Like for
Uh,
instance, like the one down here with the columns I keep going back to, but how long did that take you from start to finish? Like concept, everything.
That took me from concept to finish. I think I worked on it for most of last month.
Oh man. Oh man.
Um, and like
Dedication.
I,
Yeah.
and it's just, a little bit here and there in the evenings because I'm either in class all day or at work.
Yeah.
Um, but once I get past the carving stage and like getting everything, like when I get to painting, painting goes by super fast.
Okay.
Because I used to paint action figures and stuff, so
Some
like
more
painting
Hammer
isn't
40K,
that
man.
hard. No, I actually
Paint
used to
some minis.
make like GI Joe size figures and
Oh, that's cool.
sell them.
That's awesome.
But like the painting is probably the most fun part,
Yeah.
which is why I think it goes so fast.
Well, I mean, that's sort of an issue Connor and I were talking about is, how do you balance that workload? Like you say, you only work on it for a little bit at night.
Yeah, and you got
Um,
work and school. Where do you work again? For your job?
I teach preschool.
Man, I couldn't do it, man. I couldn't teach a bunch of
mm-mm.
little babies.
Germs
little annoying,
everywhere,
yeah,
man.
those little
Get sick
Oh,
all the
man.
time.
I'll kick
I
a kid
love
in
it.
the
I've
head.
been doing it for like 5-6 years.
You're the man. I don't know how you could do it.
It's so much fun. So you have no idea how many kids that I I've taught them the normal colors and stuff like that, but then I teach them colors that you don't really think about. Like I've explained the differences between certain blues.
Yeah.
So
You're
it's really
blowing their
funny.
minds.
It's really funny when you hear a 3-year-old say, well, that's cerulean. Like, okay.
Oh
That's
man,
pretty
that's
good.
amazing. Oh. Well, I mean, how do you balance that though, Josh? Like,
It's a whole lot of I kind of do everything on like a reward system, because I would rather be working on this kind of stuff.
mhm.
Um, but I always tell myself, okay, you know, if you get X amount of, homework done or whatever, get this assignment done early, then you can spend a couple extra, hours working on the diorama you want to build.
Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good way
So,
to think about it, I guess. I mean, it's definitely a good way to motivate yourself, to work on multiple things at the same time. And
Yeah, and
have you?
I usually have like, when you're waiting for paint to dry, it's like, well, I'm not just gonna sit here and do nothing, so I'll go work on whatever
I
assignment to do.
gotcha.
Yeah. So does
Yeah.
this kind of work that you're doing with like making models in 3D? Because this is a big thing that I've always wanted to ask you. It's like I know you're an illustrator also, but then you do this stuff. And like this is the kind of stuff I wish I could do so that I could cut out all the hard work for my illustrations. Like if I just had the motivation to like make a full interior and like had action figures that fit with my like whatever illustration I was going for, pose them, like light it perfectly, I could just use that as a reference to like make a really informed illustration. Have you ever done that kind of stuff? Like bridge the two things you're interested in to like make a piece?
I haven't yet, but I actually plan on doing something similar for my senior show.
Okay.
I'm tempted, and I shouldn't say tempted. I'm going to make at least two smaller dioramas and put illustrated figures in there rather than action figures.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like
Just
that.
just to be different in the show and show off more that I can do than just illustration.
Yeah. I mean, in what I'm thinking is like, as far as what I'm interested in like not even like fully realistic illustrations, but just drawings that focus a lot on like lighting and that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. That is, you can just like use these models as reference for. Like you could just paint on top. Like if you're doing like a digital painting, like I would just use these photos and just like start painting on top of them, and like
I have done that
turn
a
the action
couple
figure
times.
into a illustrated guy.
Yeah, like I've got some Japanese import figures that have almost as much articulation as the human body.
Wow.
And there
Yeah,
are a
I've
lot of
seen those
times that I
online. A lot of
will,
people use them for reference
yeah,
for painting.
I use them a lot for figuring out poses and stuff, but I will also throw them in, one of these dioramas and light them if I really need to know how to do lighting for something.
Yeah, like that's something I do a lot for like my illustrations, not to that level at all, and like that's something I definitely like. Now, after seeing your work, it's like, oh man, I really want to do it. But I buy Sculpey, and
Do it.
I'll make little tiny like Sculpey heads of like if I'm like drawing like or painting a monster or something, I'll like take some Sculpey and like do a really rough like sculpt of like what I think the creature or whatever is gonna look like, and then just like
Well,
hit it
that
with a
didn't surprise
light and
me.
use that as a reference, and like that
I
kind of
mean,
stuff. With this, like if you took it to the next level and did like a whole scene and like lit it, you could just have like the perfect reference for paintings and stuff.
it's not like it would work really well. Not to mention, they make completely blank action figures that you could, if you did like you were saying, like put them in the scene and whatnot, you'd have a blank reference figure in that scene that you could turn into whatever you wanted to turn into.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, this sort of leads into like, do you have any plans? I mean, what you're doing is very almost like stop motion-y without the motion, obviously.
A little bit, yeah.
Do you plan on going into film at all? Like, I mean, you're basically making sets, like.
That's a good question. Yeah, I was wondering about that too.
I've thought about it. I don't have the patience for stop motion.
But you have the patience to do these like little tiny bricks and shit. Like.
It's one of I get okay. Whenever I'm posing these guys for a photo, I get really frustrated really quickly when they fall over, which they tend to do a lot because I mean they're toys and they're not.
Right.
Yeah, the weight's not distributed like a real person. So I can only imagine how frustrated I would get with stop motion, and how often they would fall over.
Ah.
Yeah, but I mean, stop motion
But I
animators
have
use all
actually,
sorts of tricks, right?
yeah, like I've actually watched a couple videos from the guys that do Wallace and Gromit,
Mm-hmm.
and they were showing like how their figures are built and stuff, and it's like that's really cool, and they make them to where the weight is distributed properly so it doesn't fall over.
Mm-hmm.
My figures are not done that way, and I'm not building my own figure.
Yeah.
Well, do you think you will though? Like eventually, you said you sort of made action figures. I mean,
um I mean, it's definitely a possibility. I couldn't say no. I'm never gonna do that because
right.
I have no idea what inspiration will hit me. Um, it's not an ultimate goal, but it's definitely something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now, when you were talking about Wallace and Gromit, that made me think a lot about Kubo and the Two Strings. I don't know if you guys saw that movie.
I didn't see that
I
one.
want to see that so badly.
Yeah,
I've
that
heard
looks awesome.
Josh, you have to see that movie. I'm telling you, as a friend, you have to see it as soon as possible. That movie is like perfect for you. It's fucking amazing. Like,
Is it on Netflix or anything yet? Or not
What?
Netflix,
Oh
but
my
right?
god.
I think it probably just came out on DVD or something. I saw it in theaters
Okay.
like not too long ago, but it's probably out.
Well, then I can go rent it like from Redbox or something soon.
And it's all stop
Have
motion.
a
And that's the
movie
thing
night.
people don't get. There's like, oh, some animated movie, Kubo and the Two Strings. Like, no, it's not a fucking animated movie. It's like people go see, like that dog movie. What was that shitty dog movie that came out? Secret Life of Pets? Fucking awful
Oh
movie.
god.
Oh yeah.
People will go see that shit, eat it up, but then they see a movie that was meticulously handcrafted with like these 3D printed, like every single face, because it's stop motion animation. So when somebody talks, each frame is a 3D printed face. They just switch them out every frame.
Yeah.
Like the level of
Yeah.
like work that went into that movie, it's just like incredible. And
And no one
behind the
cares.
scenes, yeah, nobody gives a shit. But yeah,
No one gives a shit.
at least Josh.
Well,
before you watch the movie, go on
imagine,
YouTube
like,
and watch the behind the scenes. Like it's fucking crazy.
Oh yeah. No, I think I did see the behind the scenes thing about it.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
like the
just
ship.
like
I
it's
saw
like
something with
they
like a
play it
ship.
in
Yeah, yeah.
fast. They play it in like the sped up motion, so you're seeing the character like exactly animated as he is in the movie, but then they don't edit out the people like working on it. It's like a time lapse
Yeah,
video,
it's
so you see like guys' hands coming
crazy.
in like super fast, and they're moving the figure the whole way, and like it's so cool to watch it sped up. But yeah, it's
Well,
just
imagine like how much more difficult it would have been for like Nightmare Before Christmas when you didn't have things that were,
3D
you know,
printed.
yeah, like
yeah.
everything was hand sculpted.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
which is
think like
fucking nuts.
Jack had like 80 or something like that,
It was
different
something.
faces.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
I remember seeing something like, and I was like, oh my god, like all those hand. Now
Yeah.
you can just 3D print, and it takes a little less time, but it's
Yeah.
still a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
You know. So that's not a plan for you. Like you, I mean, it just seems like you have such a strong talent. Like, you know, how you should just pack up and go to Hollywood and be like, I can make these sets happen. I can make this.
Yeah.
You know, like it's
Well, I
such a
mean,
great skill to have.
it would definitely be cool. Um, and I've definitely noticed that I've gotten attention from various places because of the stuff that I post on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Instagram.
like, I don't know if the guy is legitimately this or not because I haven't checked to see if it's verified or anything like that. But uh, 2 weeks ago or something like that, I had one of those notifications like so and so followed you, and I always check to see who it is because
Oh
Mm.
you
yeah.
know if it's somebody that's got
If
cool
it's
stuff,
some,
I want to
big
look at their
titty
stuff too.
bot, some robot with giant cans, you're just that's what it normally is for me.
That's what it normally is, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But apparently, this dude that followed me is supposedly the senior art director for Lucasfilm Animation.
Oh man.
I'm
Oh,
like,
you
that's
didn't look that
really
up right
fucking
away.
cool.
You gotta
Look that
check
up
up
right
on that,
away.
dude. Yeah.
Go to LinkedIn right now and fucking check him
Oh
out.
yeah, that's a good feeling when like somebody that actually does something follows you and you're like, oh,
Yeah,
you know, or like
so
retweets you or something. Like it always just it's like a confidence
yeah,
booster, you know.
And yeah, I mean, as artists, I think we all sort of need that little boost when something like that happens, or you get retweeted by someone you admire. Like just
Yeah.
those little things just keep you going.
oh yeah, I
Um,
was on the cloud nine all day after that.
yeah,
Yeah.
dude,
Yeah.
because it's so frustrating. Like, you make something and then it's like, what the fuck do you do with this? Like, oh, and that goes into like, do you sell these, right, Josh?
Yeah, I started selling them um a couple months ago because it was one of those things of you know I make these to where I can break them down into different components so that it's not always just the setup scene
All
because
right.
otherwise I wouldn't have space to put any of it.
Hmm.
Um, but I started thinking, I'm like, I need a little more influx of cash because Christmas time is coming,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and all that
Christmas.
stuff. But and I'm saving up for an apartment, and you know, eventually buying engagement ring and all that kind of stuff. So
Oh
I'm like,
shit,
okay,
engagement
I've
ring. We
got.
never heard about
Oh.
that.
Yeah, it's like I've got all these things. There are a few that I don't use often for photographs. Maybe I should see if anybody be interested. And sold I sold one of them recently, and I think a week after the guy got it and he really enjoyed it, he commissioned me to make him a larger one.
That's awesome.
Wow.
So I'm currently gathering all the materials to do that.
That's
Well, are
cool. How much
you
larger does
like?
he want it?
The one that I sold him was pretty simple. I think it was
Oh,
like
oh, it's still
He's thinking.
11
He's
or
thinking.
12 wide, something like that.
okay.
But the one he wants me to make him, like we're talking like 15 inches long, 12 inches deep, and
Tell me
I
more.
think 14 inch, I think like
Yeah, keep
14
going.
inches tall and stuff like that. So
Ooh, that's a big boy. No. Yeah, that's crazy, man. No, that's cool though. That's how it works a lot. People will, maybe they'll buy a print if it's like an illustration, or they'll buy like a concept from you. But then, if they find out that hey, you're actually not shitty,
An asshole.
you actually work hard and you're like reliable and stuff, then they'll like trust you more, commission pieces and stuff like.
Yeah,
great.
which I was super stoked because I mean that's the first diorama commission I've gotten.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I hadn't put myself out there previously because I didn't really have the time,
Mhm.
but
Make
between
time, dude.
yeah, and between our discussions, his time frame and my time frame worked out perfectly that I could go ahead and take on this first commission.
So you don't
That's
have to
awesome.
answer,
So
but is there like a set price you sell these for, or is there like an hourly wage you charge to make them? And like I know it takes you forever to make them, so I'm sure they
yeah,
cost a pretty penny.
I usually base the price on how much went into it as far as time, detail, and the size of it.
Mm-hmm.
Usually determines it. Like the one I sold him was just the floor and a back wall, and one accessory.
Okay.
And it was really really detailed,
Yeah.
but there weren't multiple walls and a ceiling and
Right.
all like
Right.
windows and all that kind of stuff. And I think, can I say the price? I guess I can say the price.
You don't have
Um,
to.
I mean that one was I charged him $100 for that one,
Okay. Yeah.
which seems to be sort of the going rate for one about that size.
Right. So you've
Um,
talked to other artists or like other modelers that are making this kind of stuff and selling them online to get like an estimate of what you should
mhm.
charge for them. Okay, cool.
That's a great idea to do. Otherwise,
Yeah,
you're gonna
the
undercut
I mean,
yourself.
no matter what you're doing in
oh
whatever
yeah,
medium, you should always talk to somebody and like, or ask somebody like, "Am I charging too little or too much?" Because most times you're probably charging too little, even
Yeah.
if you don't think
yeah.
you are.
Like I'm friends with a couple guys through the Facebook groups I'm part of that, a couple of them do it for a living, and I asked him one day, I was like, how do I even go about pricing this if I wanted to sell it? And he kind of walked me through, like how he does it.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I've talked to a couple guys that do it as a hobby, the way I do. One of whom was actually the guy whose diorama inspired me to start this whole freaking journey that I'm on, which was a small world.
Yeah.
And I'm always hesitant to price artwork, but I think every artist is
Yeah.
at first. So it's definitely a learning curve, but I'm getting there, and it's kind of exciting that I'm getting a lot more attention in these groups and stuff, and I'm getting people asking me, well, how did you make this? Or could you take a look at what I'm doing and let me know what you would do differently?
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So before you're sort of like the student, and now you're becoming like the master. That's
He
A,
has
a little
fully
bit,
Ninja
yeah.
Turtled himself.
yeah. I think you have. I think you fucking have.
You did it. You made it. Started with a dream, and now he's one of the turtles, baby. Is he Leonardo or Raphael? I don't know. Can't tell.
No, Mikey. Forget that.
Oh
Mikey's my favorite.
Yeah, for real. That's
I
great,
mean,
dude.
yeah. I mean, that's awesome that you're able to sort of make money doing what you love.
Yeah, and it's always good to hear because like no matter what you're doing, if you could be doing anything, and like there's always going to be other people that are interested in the same thing as you, and like that have groups online or like have forums where they're talking and like sharing ideas, no matter how like
Oh yeah.
specific of a thing, like even just I'm sure like for this kind of stuff like making dioramas, like you'd think it would be a small community, but there's probably so many people that are doing this stuff like all over the world, and like yet the internet's
Oh
these
man.
days, like it's so easy to talk to people, so just go
Yeah,
out
join
there, do
join
it.
groups, join
Join
Facebook
groups.
groups, join
Oh,
Speaking of
definitely,
groups,
Instagram
definitely.
groups. Like it's helped me out a lot. Yeah,
I mean, it's helped me
Join us.
immensely.
yeah, for real.
That's awesome,
Yeah.
man.
I mean, the it's a big enough, industry, I guess you could call it, because there are people that do dioramas for film and stuff like that. Um, and on a slightly smaller scale, there are people that create dioramas for like Hasbro, for instance, will contract people to build dioramas for Comic-Con or Toy Fair so that they can display the newest stuff coming out.
Yeah, and like what I'm thinking
Um,
is like toy commercials, like all the shitty toy
yeah.
commercials you'd always watch as a kid.
Oh
There's
man, the
always
ones from like back in the 90s
yeah,
that were
there was
amazing.
always like a balsa wood table that like Skeletor would throw
Yeah.
He-Man on and like break in half, and you'd be like, whoa, or like fake
Somebody
rocks.
always drove through a crappy brick wall.
Yeah,
Oh, the
dude.
crappy brick wall!
That's what I'm saying. You got to get into filmmaking. Start learning techniques to make those crappy brick walls. For those movies.
Yeah, man.
I would- Go ahead.
I was gonna say, man, like I really think you just need to grab like a shitty DSLR and try messing around with like some low depth of field for some of these.
Oh
Um,
no, definitely. Like I've actually been talking to a couple of guys and actually today in the toy photography group that I'm part of about, what would be like, what do you guys use camera wise? Because I think I've gone about as far as I can go with my phone.
mm,
I mean, I'm still learning, new techniques for lighting and stuff like that, but at the same time, it's like, I can't get some of these, I just flat out can't do some of these shots as cleanly as they can because my phone just won't do it. So I've gotten a couple ideas of what kind of cameras to go for, like what kind of setup
nice.
to look
Nice.
into.
So you're like full blown into this now. Like this is where you want to go,
Dude,
what
He's
you want
fully
to do.
blown.
it's so much fun. Like, illustration is always gonna be my first love, and I still would love to do children's books. That's never gonna change. I'm still gonna work on that. But this is so much fun. Like, I have almost as much fun doing this, if not more, than illustration.
Yeah.
Well,
Because
it's crazy.
it's me. It's not for a class. It's not for, you know, I'm not illustrating somebody else's work or anything like that.
Yeah, right.
It's my idea.
Well, it's your idea, but you're using characters that are already established, and I think sort of the
Yeah.
next step for you, like you said, are using your illustrations in these. And so I could
Yeah.
totally see like a children's book where you create this world and then do your illustrations in these sets. You know?
Like I'm really interested to see what one of these dioramas would look like if after I paint it and get it all ready to go, if I go in and actually add ink lines to it to
Mhm.
make it look like it's drawn.
Oh man! Oh, you got to
Like
show us
I
that.
want to see what that looks like, and that's one of the things I'm gonna try to do for my show or for the senior show.
No, please do. I think that would be like a little set of Archer or something. You know, like
Yeah.
it'd
Yeah.
be wild.
Or you could
Like, I've
even
seen
do
people
like
that paint.
experiments, like in Photoshop, just kind of draw
Oh,
over
yeah.
and like do some quick lines on top and see what it looks like.
Oh, that's a good idea too, man. Yeah.
I've done a little bit since I have a tablet now. I had to learn how to
Oh
use.
shit!
You just got a tablet? You've been in illustration
I got
for years.
one. I got one over. Listen. You can ask Hamilton. I was against all that crap.
What? Why so
What were
good?
you doing? Wait, so you were doing like traditional in illustration 1 and 2?
Yeah, I
Okay.
Like
yeah,
a fool.
anytime I had anything that was digital, I drew everything by hand and then colored it on the computer with a mouse.
Oh no.
Ah.
Josh, no.
But I got a tablet last summer because the summer class I was in, you had to use a tablet. There was no drawing on paper. So I
Good.
had to learn how to use one, and it has begrudgingly been very helpful.
Yeah.
So
Hey man, yeah. Tablets are great. No, that's
Well,
cool, though.
it's useful to take a couple of these photos and be like, all right, if I put lines here and here,
is there
How's
gonna,
that gonna
instead of doing it by hand and like ruining the
yeah,
will this
yeah.
work? Will this work maybe?
Yeah.
Well, it looks like we're about that time. Josh, I just want to thank you again for being our very first guest.
Of
Thank
course,
you,
man. Thank
Josh.
you guys for having me. This was fun.
This is great for us. I mean, just hearing sort of your process and everything, and you just being a product of just being like, I'm gonna go online and figure out how to do this shit, and
Pretty much, yeah.
that's awesome.
That's what we're all about here at Between the Strokes. Join us online in our quest to get better at the arts.
Hey, I'm part of the group. You guys need to be part of the group too.
Yeah, look. Josh, look how cool Josh is, and he's part of the group, and you're not part of the group. What are you doing? No, but yeah, we need to make these things longer, man. I feel like we could talk for another hour, so maybe we'll start doing like longer streams in the
Go
future.
for
Yeah.
it, dude.
Yeah, totally.
And hey, I'm only a text message away if you ever want me to come back.
Oh hell yeah, we're definitely gonna have you back on. As long as you're willing, we're always open.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime, dude.
Hell yeah. Well, thanks for answering all of our questions and talking about your art. I mean, we've both known that you've been doing this stuff for like a while and been seeing it
I'm
online.
just
but it's-
impressed as shit.
Yeah, but it's cool to actually talk to you and like learn more about the process. So, really
Yeah,
appreciate it,
It was
man.
fun.
Yeah, please check out Josh's Instagram for better shots and more shots. And it's phenomenal to see. You have the process shots on there too, which is just fascinating as hell. Like to see your drawers, how you made the drawers and everything. So check out Josh's Instagram.
Yeah, this is just a fraction of what Josh has. So yeah, got to check out his full portfolio. And Josh, you got to get that website up, man. People want to see it.
I know, I'm working on it right now, actually.
Oh yeah.
Are you using Squarespace?
Um, my second little sister is actually gonna help me do the real website. I'm working on my Facebook page right now.
Okay.
Real website? What do you mean real website?
Yeah,
What does
what
that
do you
mean?
what do you yeah, what-
Like,
What are you trying to say?
I'm
What are you
just,
trying to say, Josh?
no. I mean, instead of just a Facebook page.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
yeah,
what
yeah.
like are you gonna use like
What-
a service? Are you gonna use GoDaddy?
Um,
Use GoDaddy.
I'm not sure what we're gonna do because
Use Squarespace. Squarespace is really good. I'm telling you
Squarespace?
right now. It's relatively cheap. They've been great with me. A lot of different other artists use it.
I have it.
It's phenomenal.
ConnorDrews.com.
You have it too?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Squarespace is good because it takes zero work at all. Like everything's
Mhm.
just perfect. Like you
And it looks so good.
drag JPEGs in, and they're automatically scaled and like
I
perfectly
know.
set up. But you know, you do have to pay
Oh,
like
that sounds good.
what you pay once a
Yeah,
year.
you pay. It's like $100 a year or something like that.
Oh,
Maybe
that's not bad.
120. No, it's worth it, man. And this goes out to everyone listening. A lot of people now, like people are kind of getting away with not having websites and just doing Instagram and Facebook. But a lot of companies now want you to have a website.
Yeah,
If-
you gotta have all of it.
You have to have all of it. They want you to see that you're committed enough to have a fucking website.
Even if it's only just to say like, you know, when they ask, "Hey, can I see your portfolio?" and then you send them a link.
just
that's
drop that
like
website,
your
yeah.
name / portfolio.
Yeah, like
It's a lot
I
different.
tried to go to some like farmers market or something, and they were like, "Well, you have to have a Facebook, a website, and Instagram." I'm like, okay.
Get it all.
Yeah.
Get it all.
You don't need it, but it helps. Everything helps.
Yeah.
Get it all. Well, thank you guys. Thanks everyone for listening.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week, 6 o'clock. Will we have a new guest? Will we have Josh again? I don't know.
We don't know. Surprise, surprise.
Thanks for watching the stream, y'all.
Thanks, everybody.
Let me find out how to stop it. Oh, there it is. All right, bye.
Bye, YouTube. Bye, YouTube.